Hey, I just want you to know that your hobbies are just fine. Okay? All right. Now that I got that over with, yeah. So, I wanted to talk for just a little while about just something that's been on my mind for a little while. Those are my dogs. Well, one of my dogs. Hey. Sorry. I want to talk about something that's been on my mind for a little while. Hobbies. I have always liked Star Wars. How can I do this? Here we go. Star Wars. That's a Millennium Falcon right there. I've always liked it from the time I was a kid. I've also always liked Lego. And actually what you don't see up here is just a ton of other sets. Always liked that as a kid, and it was never a problem. As a child, I don't think I ever had anyone look at me twice when I was playing with my Lego or talking about Star Wars or nerding out about any other number of things, or even if I was running around in something like this. Though as a kid, I never had anything this cool. This is really cool. And so, you know, as I got a little bit older, and it probably wasn't until around the time I left for college that I really started to try to reject some of the stuff that I grew up loving. And I think for most people, they think that that means that they're growing up, that they're maturing, that they're becoming a better person and better individual. And I thought that too. So I thought, all right, I packed up all my Lego. It sat in containers. I left it all at home and I went off to college. Long story short, the college thing didn't really work out for me. But that's a subject for another day. But I packed up everything. I didn't take any of it with me. The only thing I left for college with was I had a PSP that I was just so proud of. That was like the one like gaming related thing that I took with me. But that would end up not lasting long when I would have to sell it in order to try to pay for part of a new computer because my laptop went out in college. And this was right when laptops were becoming a necessity for college. Anyway, long story short, I thought I'd grown out of it, right? I got out of college. I got my own place. I had like nothing. I didn't even have a bed. I had like blankets and stuff on the floor. I think at one point I finally got a mattress, so it was just a mattress on the floor. I didn't have a whole lot, and that became a period of my life where I wasn't super happy. I wasn't depressed or sad or anything. I was just kind of like, eh. And at that point, since I'd moved in on my own, my parents had said, hey, your stuff is still here at home. Do you want it? And I'm like, oh, absolutely. So I did get my Lego back at that point, but I didn't really dig back into it that much. I did occasionally, but I still had this feeling that this hobby and these things were childish and that I need to grow out of it. And I never felt like a grown-up. I never felt like I had grown out of it. I was forcing myself to not participate anymore, but I never really did feel like I had grown out of it. So that created these two weird mental states, like in the last video we talked about, that kind of were constantly at war with each other. As I got a little bit older and as I married my wife, who is super supportive of my hobbies, and she really encouraged me to get into them and not be ashamed of them. I mean, that was really when I started dating her and was kind of away from some other influences. I was still a lot younger. This was about 7 or 8 years ago. I kind of started getting back into it, started building stuff again, started building some of the sets from my past. The Lego Yoda up there, right there. is one from my past. This one here is like one of the earlier sets I had, little Naboo Starfighter. Anyway, I could do a whole video on the Lego sets, but the point is I kind of started breaking out of that, but I was still a little embarrassed that I was approaching my 30s and that I still liked this stuff. And I'm 34 now, and I have to say, if I'm honest with myself, that I really only finally let myself be okay with my hobbies very recently. Like, more recently than I'd like to admit. So I've embraced it now, and it's become a part of me again. And I think that has made me a happier person. And I know that there might be people who look at it and judge it and think this is a waste of time, a waste of money, but I'm actually pretty frugal with it. You'd be surprised at how many of these sets, one, I already had, and two, I get from a combination of, birthday presents, Christmas presents, rewards from work, that kind of stuff. But yeah, like I don't feel like I go overboard with it. But to people who don't have any Lego sets, it's probably a little overboard. Anyway, my point is, it was only very recently that I decided that I wasn't going to let myself be ashamed of it anymore. Putting myself out on Twitch, putting out YouTube videos, kind of exposes me to the lights, both the streaming lights and the metaphorical lights of, hey, this is just who I am. This is a hobby that I love, that de-stresses me. There's nothing better than a new Lego set to just calm my nerves. I'm not a particularly anxious person, but I still find that it calms me and it makes me feel better. And then I like the way that they look when they're displayed, and I like putting lights on them and showing them off and having people go, wow. I like all that stuff, and I'm done apologizing for it. And I want you to think of it this way. I'm friends with a lot of people who like a lot of different things. And constantly, non-stop, they talk about sports or what wine they tried this weekend or what bar they went to or what restaurant they went to, or, the sports one is huge, especially in the business world. And not a one of them get judgment or hate or a weird side glance for liking those things. And I realized that every time I have broken out of my shell a little bit and told people, well, I really like to collect Lego, kind of love it. Most people have been like, oh, that's cool. All right. So I kind of realized that this whole thing that I'd built up about, like, 34-year-olds don't have Lego and they don't stream on Twitch and they don't play video games and they don't do X and Y, it's just not true. Or that idea that if I let people know what my hobbies are, they're going to think I'm weird. And I got to tell you, that's just not really been my experience. I know there'll be people out there who will think that, but in general, it just hasn't been my experience. If you struggle with that too, if there's something that you like to do, whether it's Lego or cross stitch or crochet or, who knows what, if you like to paint, although painting isn't, for some reason, other art forms aren't seen in the same light, or at least not perceived in the same light. But anything you like that you think, man, if people found out that this was my hobby, I'd be so ashamed. I need you to stop thinking that way, because I know that's all up here. And try to put yourself out there and express whatever you want to express, however you want to do it, and just see what the reaction is. Just see what happens. I think that the drama you've built up in your own head, if you're anything like me, is probably more than what is actually happening. And that's what I'm trying to find out. I am streaming on Twitch now, a lot of weekday nights after 7:30-ish, depends on when the baby goes to sleep. I'm streaming Video games, I'm playing Star Wars Squadrons right now, which is so much fun. I got a nice little joystick HOTAS setup. Anytime I can afford it, I'm building Lego sets on stream, and it's just relaxing, and I get to talk to people. And just don't let yourself feel bad about your hobbies. That's it. Just don't let yourself do that. Put yourself out there. Express yourself through your hobbies. And I think that's going to make you a lot happier. Talk about your hobbies with as much enthusiasm and detail that others get to talk about when it comes to football or baseball or soccer or whatever it is. You're allowed to do that. It's okay. If you didn't need to hear that, then I needed to hear it. And that's all that matters. You can follow me on Twitch, twitch.tv/Nonder. The O is a 0. I'll see you there. If I can stop the recording. There we go.